being generated, like any idea? Power ta kotha theke ashe? So as you can see, like there is a motor. So anything like you see a generator or a motor, like anything which has been plugged to a electric cables and all. So you can see this picture where there is a motor like thing and that has been plugged to an electric cable. And generally, if you see a motor actually, so from a motor a shaft is coming out, and on this shaft actually you are I mean, the shaft is being rotated by the motor. So that is a case. That is a case where torsion is being applied. So if you see in this picture that's being presented, like so, there is a shaft. So the shaft is in rotation, and the rotation has been caused by a that has been caused by a generator or a uh, like your. So if I say that, so this is a case of torsion. So suppose you are having a bar actually. So I hope you have gone to that our this lab like. This workshop and all. I hope you have gone to your workshops and all. So there you have seen like there are certain shafts of this shape actually. So this end of the shaft, suppose I am having a shaft like this. So shaft is just a long rod. So this end of the shaft says, so this has been connected to a motor or a generator, whatever you see, which has been plugged into a electric point actually. So it will be set up into torsion. So it will rotate actually. So a torsion will be set up on this shaft actually, as I hope you can understand. So it's being rotated. So this shaft actually, so it will be subjected to torsion. And as you have seen, like any shaft actually, so if you have visited the your Blue Earth laboratory and all, so you can see like there are pulleys fitted here. So the some pulleys actually are fitted here. So these pulleys, so what they will be doing, so they will be having some loads and all. So suppose there is a load being load put here W1, suppose a load put here W2. So I hope now you can understand that this transmission shaft, so this sort of things actually we call them as transmission shaft. So if you go to any industry and all, so you will be coming across these sort of things. These are known as transmission shaft, which are actually overhead shafts actually. So they carry, so there is actually a bull motor actually. So that is generating a huge amount of power, and that is being distributed all over the floors of the industry. So you don't have you don't have a motor at every point of the industry. You have a bull motor or a bull shaft actually. So that bull shaft drives the entire system of the shafts actually, and that transmission of the power. So there is a shaft actually, and wherever is a point that you need a power actually, we have a belt connection or a gear connection, these sort of things. So these sort of belt connections actually you can see in our Blue Earth laboratory and all. So whenever you are taking power from a transmission shaft using using a pulley and all. So whenever a pulley is being fitted on a shaft, so that pulley is having certain amount of weight. So this shaft is getting, actually it will be getting deflected. So this shaft will be getting deflected something like this. So now you can understand that a transmission shaft, it is actually subjected to two things. One is torsion due to the rotation being caused uh, by the motor on which it is fitted, and it is also subjected to bending. So where from bending is coming? So bending may come from the own weight of the shaft. So any shaft actually, it will be having its own weight actually. So whenever you are having a shaft that's being suspended actually, so due to its own weight, it will try to bend actually. If you if you even neglect weight actually, so on a shaft actually there are certain pulleys and all that are fitted on the shaft actually. So whenever there are pulleys and all that are fitted on the shaft, so the shaft will be subjected to bending. Up to this clear? So this is about the transmission shaft. That is something that is used to transmit power. So that is used to transmit a torque. So there is a motor that's generating the torque, and you are having a system of shafts that transmit the power on all parts of the floor of the industry. So that's up to this. So baki part, the other parts are the derivations and all, which I will be now doing on the yeah. So আমি এখান থেকে একটুখানি বলে দিচ্ছি just, since I hope you can understand that drawing pictures is somewhat difficult. So let me just explain a few things actually. So these are the discussion on the stresses in a shaft. So as I hope you can understand that now I am discussing how the shaft is carrying the stresses. So I hope you can understand that in order to find out where the stresses are getting developed, you have to take a cross section of the shaft. So stresses are actually getting developed along the cross section of the shaft, or the actually if you call x-axis as the length of the shaft, so YZ plane, on the YZ plane, what are the stresses that are being developed on the shaft? So how to find out the YZ plane? So in order to find the YZ plane, what you have to do, you have to pass a cutting plane or a sectional plane. So see in this figure, there is a cutting plane C that has been passed on the shaft. So in this case, we are having a circular shaft. We can have a non-circular shaft also. So we can have shafts of many shapes and all. But in this case, generally what we refer to is being a circular shaft. So in this case, you can see that there is a circular shaft that is carrying tensions T and capital T on both the sides. So now you see there on the cross section. So figure number A, if you see, so on the cross section, we have taken a small elemental area at a distance rho. So at a distance rho means at an arbitrary radius, say small r or rho, whatever you feel like. So at a small distance rho from the axis of rotation of the shaft, you can see that we have taken a small element and we have called the force that is being acting on that element by dF. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Wait. So if that force is, we call it as dF. So rho into dF. So as you know that distance, so r into dF actually. So what is torque actually? So by definition, torque is actually an equivalent of force. If you take like so this will be rho cross dF or r cross dF, but r cross f actually. So if you take the integration of all such elements, so integration of rho cross dF if you make, so you'll be getting capital T. So now we are assuming that let tau be the shearing stress that is being developed on the area actually. So since we are talking about shearing stresses, so shearing stresses are acting parallel to the plane actually. So so the direction of dF, that refers to the direction of tau actually. So shearing stress means a stress that is parallel to the cross sectional area. So this stress tau is actually parallel to dF actually. So dF is equal to tau dA. So if tau is the stress acting on the shearing stress on the area dA, so dF will be equal to something like tau dA. Correct. So now if I input tau on here, so I should be getting rho into this one. That should be equal to capital T. Okay. So now this thing is known as a so this figure on the on 3.5, so you can see that they have taken a 3D element. So this is something that is called a complementary shear stress. So any element if I consider, so it will be subjected to certain amount of shear stresses. So you can see that there are 4 stresses that are actually balancing one another. So if I so I will be discussing that. So this is something we call it as a complementary shearing stresses. Okay. So now this is the cross section of the beam, or this is a beam actually that has been shown actually. So you see, if you see model of the shaft, so if you see the model of the shaft, so I can assume that the periphery of the shaft or the circumference of the shaft, I can assume that actually they are made of certain parallel lines actually. So if I want to model something, so what we do is generally we draw some. So whenever you have drawn, so when we were drawing like in the drawing class, when you were drawing the projections of like cone, like cylinders and these sort of things, you took certain. You called them like you have drawn this actually. I hope you have attended the drawing classes and all. So you hello.
Yes,
so
sir.
we take some generating lines and all. Huh?
Yes, sir.
So we take some generating lines and all. So we assume that on the so if you see figure number A, so we assume that it is actually like certain straight lines actually that had been around. There are no straight lines, but in order to idealize it, what we do is we draw some generating lines and all. So you see that a cylinder actually it's the generating line. So along the circumference, we can assume that there are certain lines actually, parallel lines fitted parallel to each other, and you can see that initial case you see some red things, 4 red rectangles and all. So they have been arranged. So as you can see that they are parallel to each other actually. So there are four red lines that are lying on one line. So if I consider one generating line on the circumference of the circular shaft, so I can see that there are 4 lines which are actually lying on one straight line. Now what is happening is I am twisting it on both the ends. So you see that when I'm twisting it on both the ends actually, so each line actually is getting twisted. So if I assume a cylinder circumference to be made up of many parallel lines, so when I twist it on both the sides actually, so the twisted configuration is shown on the figure B actually. So you see that there is the lines are actually getting twisted, so that any points lying on the line, like you have four red things like lying on one line. So they also get in an angular orientation, but they don't warp. So there is no warping on the surface actually. That is something, that is an assumption that we make generally while doing it. So they don't warp. I mean, they don't move along any arbitrary things, and also there is no warping on the of those lines actually. We assume that the lines they were straight initially, and after the twisting also they remain straight. So any line that is parallel to the axis of the shaft, any line that is straight before twisting, so after twisting it also remains straight. It doesn't becomes a warped line. You understand this? So there is
Sir,
something
the,
called a warping of a cross section. Bolo?
sir, if the lines get means tilted or means they are means in a sliding manner, then the length of the line will increase.
No, length of the line won't increase. That is why I'm trying to explain that any line that was parallel, it just gets twisted. It doesn't increase in length or decrease in length. There is no reduction or change in the length of the line. So it just changes actually. So that is an assumption basically. So suppose suppose I am having a shaft like this. So I'm drawing the front view of the shaft actually. So suppose I am having a shaft something like this. Just wait, time needs checked. So suppose I am having a shaft like this. So initially I was having a line that is parallel to the, say, suppose I am having a line, generating line on the surface of the shaft. So it was initially parallel. So let AB. So now say I am twisting it. So what will happen is it will twist in a manner like this. So only AB, suppose the end A was fixed. So when the A was fixed, so it will twist like this actually. So that this length actually AB prime, that actually remains constant. Of course, you can understand that this twisting is within a certain angle actually. So that we can make those assumptions. So what you are asking is like, I don't twist it like 30 degree, 40 degrees and all. I twist it by 2 degree, 3 degree. So one line just gets 2 degree or 3 degree. So that B prime distance actually, that's somewhat short of very much negligible actually. So that is why you will let us see that we will be replacing them. We will be assuming that this angle of twist actually, that is so small that B prime is equal to, so we will be assuming it as R theta formula. So whenever we will be writing it, just when we will be coming back to the derivations and all, we will be writing B prime, that is equal to like L theta. So if L is the length of the shaft actually, so this is the front view of the shaft I am taking. So that will be equal to L into theta. So when we can assume this L theta thing, so we can make an assumption of this L theta thing when theta is in radiation and theta is very small. So we are assuming that this twist angle is very small and there is no warping of the cross section. So by warping, what I meant is like, so suppose initially the line was this, so the line gets twisted like this. So if I assume that it wasn't like fixed at any end actually. So initially it was something like say AB. So after I twist it, it gets something like this. So it just gets like this. So it was straight beforehand, and after twisting it also it remains a straight line. It doesn't cause a warp in the length of the beam. So suppose this one's one generating line lying on the circumference of the shaft actually. So it doesn't become something like this. So it's not a warping. So it's called a warping. So whenever so it's a solid surface. So I hope we can understand that it's a general assumption that we can reasonably make. That since a shaft is made of a solid material actually. So this warping of the surfaces, there will be warping of the surfaces if there is non-uniform tension. Like you see, like this is the uniform tension that we are applying it to. So this is T, and this is also like capital T. So on the both sides, we are actually subjecting it to a uniform tension actually, but it has the tension not been uniform. So like suppose this was say capital T and this was say suppose T plus delta T actually. So if this was say T plus delta T, has they not been, they've been a non-uniform torsion actually. So in that case, there can be some warping of the lines actually. So this warping of the lines we are not taking into account. We are assuming that the tension, that is a uniform tension actually. So they are couples actually. So it's a tension couple actually. So both sides we are having tensions of capital T, torsion of capital T and capital T, not tension, sorry. Okay, so it's a uniform tension you are applying on both the shafts actually. So that is why we can assume that there is no warping of the shafts, and therefore there's an assumption. That's a very basic assumption that we make, that any line that was parallel to that was straight before torsion remains straight after torsion also, right? So that's a very basic assumption, and other assumptions are there like so I will be one day I will be writing those assumptions and all, because it is not given in this book actually. So in many other books, they are written like Ramamrutan or Subramaniam. They are written so in a very basic fashion in most Indian books. That's written in a very basic fashion. What are the like assumptions that we are making? So those assumptions I will be just explaining them, just writing them to you. So I hope you can understand also. Others are just basic assumption. The first one is a very important assumption. Like if you see that this is the torsion thing. Like I will be discussing now. See, there was a line like AB. Now, so the point B was fixed. Now I'm twisting it. So I am applying a twist capital T at the free end of the shaft so that it gets twisted by an angle alpha. So you can understand that actually, so AB, which was straight, after bending also it remains straight. That's been shown in the figure right at the bottom. Like if you see figure number A, you can see that the section hasn't warped. The section that was straight, actually, it hasn't warped. This is also, I don't know. This is just a square shaft actually, but it's not shown like so. Every cross section remains parallel and undistorted. So every cross section actually, so whatever is the cross section below before actually, so after that, so this circle actually is circle is difficult to understand. That is why they have given a square actually. So the cross section was square before twisting. After I twist also, it doesn't become something like a rectangle or trapezoid, these sort of things. After bending also, the cross section which was square before the beginning, it remains square after twisting also. So that is what has been written. So the section remains plain and undistorted. So the basic thing that we'll be using in deriving and all. So that is like any line that remains that was straight before twisting or before torsion will remain straight after torsion also.
স্যার
হ্যালো বলো
স্যার এই যে ভিতরের যে ক্রস সেকশন গুলো যখন আমরা স্কোয়ার শাফটটাকে টরশন দিচ্ছি সেগুলো কি সেম থাকছে মানে
না না সেম থাকছে না ওইখানে ওয়ার্পিংটা দেখানো হয়েছে সো ইউ ক্যান সি that a bar of this, so you can see that there is a bar cross section. So initially if you consider all the cross sections, so they were actually square, but after you twist it, see some squares are having elongated length, some squares are having reduced length and all. So that is warping.
কিন্তু স্যার মানে যখন অ্যাক্সিস সিমেট্রিক হচ্ছে মানে সার্কুলার হচ্ছে তখন ক্রস সেকশনটা পুরোটা জায়গাটাতেই সেম থাকছে
হ্যাঁ এখানে সেটা ইউনিফর্ম টুইস্টিং এর জন্য সো ক্যাপিটাল টি টি প্রাইম আর সেম অ্যাকচুয়ালি you if capital T and T prime are not same, then warping will occur. Just the thing is warping we are not assuming in our derivations. The warping part we are not
স্কোয়ার শাফটে তো মনে হচ্ছে
English বলো. I there are many students who don't understand Bengali, so it's better because once you start speaking in Bengali, what happens is I also switch to Bengali. Bolo.
I was saying that when we are deforming a square shaft, I think that it is not warping, and because when we are deforming a circular shaft, the cross section is remaining almost constant because we can see that by looking at that diagram.
Yeah, almost constant because T and T prime are same. If T and T prime were not same, then that won't remain. So if you see that there are many rectangles drawn on it, many squares or rectangles, something that were drawn it. So if you make T much bigger than capital T prime, so the warping will come into place.
Yes, sir. So I was asking
that is non-uniform twisting. So that is a different thing like non-uniform twisting. We are not taking non-uniform twisting into account.
No, sir. I was asking about the difference between the deformation in a circular shaft and a square shaft, because with what I can see that the square shaft is deforming even on application of equal torques, but the circular shaft is not deforming. Like the cross section is remaining constantly a circle.
So that is how it has been discussed in this case actually. So therefore it is not enjoyed by members of. So this is something that is being enjoyed by circular shafts. That is why most of the shafts are circular. So you can see that there is something written like it is not a case for members of non-circular cross section. So square, rectangle, or trapezoid. These are bars that are of non-circular cross section. So in this chapter also you will see that after there are many sections that's devoted to non-circular cross sections, but in our syllabus only circular cross sections are there. So we'll be sticking to like circular shafts, which is most commonly used. Why? Because it is most commonly used. We don't use this rectangular or these sort of cross sections as shafts. In bar, when you go to a bar, the bar generally it is having a rectangular cross section. When you are talking of a shaft, it's a circular cross section. Because there is a difference, like whenever you are beam, so whenever you are calling a beam, so that means a beam, it is always subjected to bending. It is not we are doing something torsion and all. Beam don't carry torsion. What carries torsion? Shaft carries torsion. ঠিক আছে? So these are certain things we have to understand. What is the difference between a shaft? So shaft is by definition, it is a circular member that is designed to carry torsion. ঠিক আছে?
Yes, sir.
So
স্যার
হ্যাঁ
স্যার বলছি যে টুইস্টিং যখন করা হচ্ছে তখন বেন্ডিং
ইংলিশটা
কিভাবে
বলো, আমি বারবার বলছি তো যে মানে you try to speak in English also, because once you
Oh, sir.
speak in Bengali,
Sir,
I will also
when-
start speaking in Bengali.
Sir, when we are twisting, then how the bending is coming?
No, এইখানে we are not taking bending into account. The later on bending will come into picture. Bending এখানে হচ্ছে না, because of twisting there is no bending. Bending will be because of the weight of the shaft. So the shaft has certain weight, so that is why it will try to bend. But twisting doesn't cause bending. Twisting only results in pure shear stresses on the shaft. We said it has no relation to bending and all. So that
Sir,
tau
are
thing.
we taking the length of BA prime and BA equal?
Yeah, we'll be taking that. Hold.
Sir, the component t prime should be equal to t. Otherwise, it may have a rotation, sir, because it's the restoring force there, a restoring torsion there.
Hello. So up to this clear? You want to ask me something up to this, or else I will be starting with the
Sir,
derivations now.
Sir, if
So other
So,
thing,
yeah,
there are act second. So there are many like things like this and all, concentric circles and all. So this is now the cross section actually. So so the circumference, I can assume it to be made up of many straight lines, and a cross section we can assume that it is made up of many concentric circles. So that many things have been discussed actually. That is why I asked you to read this book. So many things it's written like a whole lot of things has been written like here. So now I'll be starting this with this point. Just the basic discussion was done. So now I'll be starting with the derivations from here. So just ask কি জিজ্ঞেস করছিলে একটু জিজ্ঞেস করো, then I will be moving to the derivation right today. বলো।
Sir, what happens if t and t prime are not equal? Because sir, t is the active torsion we are giving to the beam, but t prime is the reactive torsion from the wall. So they must be equal to
They
remain
must
the.
be equal, you know. There may be cases when they are not equal. Why you are always assuming that everything will be in equilibrium in life? So that is the case of
There
equilibrium.
will be a
where
rotation there.
there will be a rotation. There will be warping of the cross sections. So because we
Okay,
say
sir.
that the system is in equilibrium. But equilibrium is a general case that we assume. Why everything has to be in equilibrium? There are cases where that's not in equilibrium and the forces won't be equal. So whatever problems we do in
So,
statics
sir,
and all, we assume them to be in equilibrium.
Sir, if
ठीक है?
there is a unequal torque applied at both the ends, then the rod will get some place to rotate. So then why will it deform torsionally?
Why will it?
Then why will it deform? Because the rod is cannot move and it is in equilibrium, so it is rotating torsionally. But if it has some space to rotate, then why will it deform? Because it has some space to rotate about its axis. So why will it deform? Means maybe it will deform, but the deformation will be low.
Okay, so you are asking like something. I am having a shaft like this. So there is a shaft. I am having a shaft like this. So I am trying to suppose I am applying a torsion of say 40 say suppose 40 units say suppose. So and in this direction say I am applying it like say 50. So what you suppose so suppose there was a not 50, so let's make it like 500 say suppose, with something reasonable. So suppose there's a line like right here, there's a line right here. So what you are so how you feel like it should deform? So there should be warping. So this end should be, so this end, the movement of this point should be low. It's the not movement, like deflection at this point has to be somewhat less, and the deflection at this point has to be somewhat more. So if you join them like so, there will be certain warping thing around here. Like That's what I'm trying to explain, that this is not the case for a non-uniform torsion. So this is a non-uniform torsion where 40 and 500 are not the same. So this is just a case that I'm trying to explain. This has nothing to do with these derivations and all. Because I'm just explaining why warping will come in. What is warping? What are the derivations for warping that are not in our syllabus, and we don't need to go into that. I'm just explaining how warping may creep into the structure. ठीक है sir? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So let's start with something. So যেটা আমি বলেছিলাম, so initially, so torsion, so now we are trying to analyze the stresses that are getting developed in a cross section. So just like initially what I told you was like something this one is called a complementary shear stresses. So what is a complementary shear stress? So suppose I am having a like they have taken a cross section and all, like they have taken something like a 3D figure and all, they have taken like this. So if I take any cross section from the circular shaft actually, so it should be looking something like this. So now if I see it from the top and if I draw it, so it will be something like this. So it will look something like this. So suppose this is the torsion acting on one side, so this should be the torsion acting on the other side. So in order to balance that, so in order for the center, so it should be balanced from the center, or for equilibrium, so this torsion must be balanced by this one, and this torsion must be balanced by this one. So this system of a balanced shear stresses, we call it as a complementary shear stresses. So if you balance, so if you write it like T prime, so this will be tau tau, and this will again be tau tau. So this sort of an element is known as a element. So this is a complementary shear stress element, which will be needing at a later case. So just I explained that one. Even now, let's move on to the derivation. So we are having a shaft like this. So you follow the figure actually. I have just make the derivation from the book of Beer-Johnston itself, so that the things look easier for you. So it's fixed at one end. So let's call it as A, or it was a 0. So this has been called at 0, O, and this is, so suppose initially it was something like this. So let there be a point A, and it moves to a point A prime after it is subjected to a torsion, capital T. So let this be the center of the shaft. So this distance is, so this be O. So later O bola jabe na. This I cannot call it as O. Let us call it as B. So if this is O and this one is again O. So we are assuming the radius, say radius the key niche. Let me see, like, so I have taken it as rho in my, I have taken it as small r in my derivation. So you can take rho also. Generally, some books actually they refer it by rho, some refer it to it by r and all this sort of things. So let gamma be this strain. So this deflection be given by gamma, and this deflection be given by phi. So just write down. So along the length of the, so just write down. So the shaft, so a line AB which was initially straight moves to a point A prime after applying torsion. So A prime. So what will be A prime? So A prime will be, so let L be the length of the shaft. So if L is the length of the shaft, so this will be equal to L into gamma. Where gamma is very small. So as I discussed, like the torsion angle, so torsion is very small actually. Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Then again, so next write down, let capital O be the center of the shaft. So A prime again will be, so this A prime will be equal to R into phi, where again phi is a very small angle. So now if we equate the lengths A prime, so we'll be getting like L gamma, that is equal to R phi. So everything like gamma phi, this should be in like radians. So gamma, so that should be equal to R phi divided by L. So just write down, the shear strain in the shaft varies linearly. Thus, the shear stress in the shaft varies linearly with the distance from the axis of the shaft. So so this is at a certain radius r. So where it will be maximum, so where you will be getting like gamma max, so where it will be, you will be getting the maximum shear strain. So the maximum shear strain will be occurring when small r is equal to capital R. So that should be equal to r into phi divided by capital L. So you can understand actually. So this is being taken at a like a length r. So I just forgot to draw the so initially the shaft was something like this.
Sir, what is being denoted by capital R, sir?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ বলছি সেটা বোঝানোর জন্য আমি বলছিলাম আরেকবার ড্র করছি সো আই এম ট্রাইং টু ড্র দ্যাট ওয়ান সো আই এম টেকিং ইট এট এনি লেন্থ অ্যাকচুয়ালি সো সে সাপোজ সো আমি যদি এরকম ভাবে একটা এলিমেন্ট নিই সো আই ক্যান সে সো আই এম টেকিং আ এলিমেন্ট সামওয়্যার around here so I am taking one element somewhere around here which is at a distance smaller from the center দেখাই যাচ্ছে না দাঁড়াও So I am taking an element round here, which is at a distance smaller. So at this point, actually, I am doing my calculation. So suppose I was having a point like here. So I have made them like, so this was O. So this was like, sorry, eternal. I will be joining this too. So this should be eternal, not this line. So this should be like, so this should be like eta B chilo. So this was B, this was your A, and this was your A prime. So this is the thing actually. So I can do it at any radius actually, because any cross section, so that is a circle. So in this way actually the circular shaft, if I try to understand the the cross section of the circular shaft, these are made of many concentric circles. So I am taking only at a distance small r, I am doing this calculation. I could have done this calculation at a distance of capital R also. So I should be getting the same result from here. So this calculation, so if you see this calculation, so this calculation has been done at a certain radius small r. But this small r actually, so if you see now you can see in this picture. So that is what I told you, that this can be drawn at any one of the points actually. So if you see the radius of the circle is C, they have represented it by C. So C is the maximum value of rho, or the radius, which is in our case we can take it as capital R. Because generally C is something confusing. That is why in many books they take it as capital R. So if you see figure number A, you can see that they have taken it as C. So this is the total shaft actually. But I am not doing the calculation at the total outer radius of the shaft. I am doing it at a certain reduced length, which is rho or smaller. So you see that this is the dotted line. So if you see in figure number B, you see the dotted line, that was the actual shaft. Now I can assume that the actual shaft that is made up of many concentric circles. So I have taken any circle which is having a radius rho. So at that point also I will be having the same calculations. That doesn't change with since they are concentric circles. So that is why you can assume that this point A. So you can see that there is a point A marked in red. So I can assume that this point A can be lying on any radius. So it can be lying like at R is equal to small r. It can be lying on the outside at R is small r is equal to capital R also. So I am doing my calculations at any radius of the circle. So this is actually what I got is like rho into phi by L. So that is at a radius small r. You understand? So if you see that gamma when small r is equal to 0, gamma is 0. So at the center of the shaft, actually at the point O, you don't have any shearing strain. But where shearing strain is maximum, the shearing strain is maximum on the outer surface of the shaft, the outer radius of the shaft. So that is what has been written here. So this shearing strain on a circular shaft varies with the distance from the axis of the shaft. So you see that from the axis of the shaft means, so this rho actually is the radius of the shaft. So from the axis of the shaft, whenever you start moving actually, so at small r is equal to 0, the shear strain is 0. And at the outer radius of the circle, or the outer fibers of the shaft actually, they are carrying the maximum shear strain. Clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what we got is, আচ্ছা পরে একটা ক্লাস আছে না তোমাদের?
হ্যাঁ স্যার আছে একটা ক্লাস।
আচ্ছা ওটা কি লিংক দিয়ে দিয়েছে? ঠিক আছে তাহলে এখানে অবধি লেটস কমপ্লিট আপ টু দিস। So this was the entire shaft which I had just discussed as of today. So we take a cross section somewhere around here. So we take a radius. At this radius I am doing the things actually. So this has been done in the book in a better way. I hope you can understand, take the things from there also. So this was BA and this was your BA prime. ঠিক আছে? So let this O be the center of the shaft. So we are doing it at a distance of say rho. Let's take it in the book, whatever is the data in the book, or the book itself, let's take it. So like we did all the things. So gamma, we got it as small r phi divided by L. So so this is rho. So at rho is equal to 0. So at center of the shaft, gamma is minimum. Gamma minimum is equal to 0. At rho is equal to capital R. So capital R is the total radius of the shaft. So you'll be getting gamma max. So this gamma max will be equal to rho into phi divided by L. So I hope you can understand this phi actually, that doesn't change actually. Okay, so this phi, so for all the radius actually, so if you take A prime not lying at rho, if it was lying somewhere here also, so this phi angle will be remaining constant. So this is the maximum shearing strength that occurs on a circular cross section. And from here you can see that gamma actually varies as R. So the shear strength varies as rho. So the shear strength varies